Us on Times News at 8 with me, Wonder Msisia. First, the headlines. Restrictions on public gatherings remain intact as the country remains at level 2 of the COVID pandemic. First Lady Monica Chakwera urges world leaders to harness their efforts to eliminate child marriage. And the EU head of delegation to Malawi encourages dialogue in the debate on whether paralegals should be allowed to practice in subordinate courts. We have these and other stories. Please do stay with us. The Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 has stated that the country remains at level 2 of the pandemic, which means that limitations, including those on public gatherings, remain intact. According to the task force, restrictions still stipulate that not more than 100 should gather for indoors and not more than 200 for outdoors. The task force has observed that the number of those receiving COVID-19 vaccine has increased, but at a slow pace. Matthews Kasanda has more in this report.
Briefing reporters in Lilongwe, Minister of Information Gospel Gazako, who is also in the task force, said the task force met on Thursday to review the COVID-19 situation and the measures that were put in place. He says the task force has noted that there has been a decrease in the number of COVID-19 new cases and deaths. He, however, says the technical team has confirmed that the country remains at level 2 of the pandemic. Meanwhile, the committee has indicated that sports and recreation gatherings should be allowed to increase numbers subject to vaccination of the attendees.
For sports and recreation gatherings, the task force also agreed to review and consider allowing increased numbers subject to vaccination status of the attenders. Current request from the Super League of Malawi, from games this week, and other bodies will be treated in this way.
Secretary for Health Dr. Charles Mwansambo urged all citizens to be responsible enough by observing all COVID-19 prevention measures. By Thursday this week, over 2,260 people had died due to COVID-19 in the country.
First Lady Monica Chakwera has urged world leaders to harness their efforts to eliminate child marriage. Madam Chakwera said this on Thursday during a virtual United Nations General Assembly side event on ending child marriage. Rebecca Chimjeka has more in this report led by Matthews Kasanda.
The UNGA Summit is currently underway through virtual platforms. Chakwera says the whole world needs to understand that the aspirations of the year 2030 for sustainable development goals will not be fulfilled if early and forced marriages and other harmful practices continue to be barriers to the achievement of gender equality and children's empowerment. Chakwera, who is a keynote speaker, says leaders must walk the talk when it comes to investing in children's rights across sectors and ensuring their priorities and needs that are central to national strategies and budgetary frameworks.
My office, under the policy direction of the government of Malawi, is committed to continue working with various partners to have an educated society. If the commitments we made in SDGs and Africa Agenda 2063 are to be attained, children must be protected, educated, empowered, and be in good health.
World Vision Malawi National Director Francis Dube said the side event was organized with focus on ending violence against children and child marriages.
It's a problem for all of us. It's not a problem only for one country or for one region. And the event for today was really to bring in different stakeholders as well as the champions that you have led this movement or this campaign around ending child marriage.
UNICEF Director of Child Protection Cornelius Williams said UNICEF will work with governments to find lasting solutions to child marriages.
And EU head of delegation to Malawi, Won Skinback, has said stakeholders involved in the debate on whether paralegals should be allowed to practice in subordinate courts should sit down and come up with an arrangement which is favorable to both sides. Skinback was speaking in Mzuzu during a monitoring exercise on the roles that paralegals are playing in decongesting police and prison cells. Feston Malegezo reports.
Skinback was franked by officials from United Nations Development Programme UNDP, Paralegal Advisory Service Institute PAS, Police and Prison, and said he is aware that access to justice is a real issue that needs to be addressed.
I think it is true that there is a real issue with regards to access to justice. It has to be addressed, but it must be addressed by the stakeholders. They have to come up with an arrangement. I can see why lawyers don't want paralegals to interfere in their work. At the other hand, it's also true that we know that lawyers are not necessarily always very keen on criminal cases. So a balance has to be struck, but it's stakeholders who must find that balance.
Recently, President Lazarus Chakwera said he is keenly following the issue as it affects the welfare of the citizenry. Legal Aid Bureau has been pushing and lobbying stakeholders to allow legal assistance and hindered access to magistrates' courts, citing a backlog of over 23,000 cases that are yet to be disposed of by the courts. Commenting on the role the paralegals are playing in the society, Skinback said he is impressed that most of the vulnerable groups are able to access justice easily. In his remarks, UNDP resident representative Shigeki Kumasubara says the program is not only important to the prison, police and the judiciary, but also it is making a contribution to national development. Among others, the delegation witnessed screening of suspects to determine gravity of their offences at the Mzuzu police station and Mzuzu prison. Owen Levy is Mzuzu prison officer in charge.
They help us in facilitating the trials of suspects, which in the end help the inmates to access justice. And if, for instance, some have been given bail or even completely released, that helps us at least in maintaining at least the lower levels of inmates.
The exercise involved a magistrate where a camp court was set and some suspects were granted bail. The access to justice through village mediation and paralegal services project is being implemented by Paralegal Advisory Service Institute with financial support from EU and UNDP.
The family of an 18-year-old Boston Muhango who claims he was assaulted by police officers from Rumpi has written the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution, DPP, applying for consent to prosecute the officers. The officers are Brave Gideon and Faison Intagoma, who were accused together with a Burundian national, Hassajam. Sam Kalimira has the details.
Muhango was beaten up for allegedly stealing 2 vehicle lift jacks. Through their lawyer, Kriston Rambi, said that the family is waiting for a consent from the Director of Public Prosecution, adding they are ready to file the case.
We have applied for consent to the Director of Public Prosecution so that we prosecute them as per the interest of the victims, the parents of the child. Because it's arrest the 2 police officers and the Burundian person. They jointly assaulted the boy, and having noticed that the boy is in bad condition, they themselves took him to the hospital. They took him to the hospital, they left him there, they did not even inform the parents, they did not even inform anyone.
However, Director of Public Prosecution Stephen Kayuni said he has not yet received the application, adding once it reaches his office, he will scrutinize and respond to it accordingly. Police rearrested Muhango on Monday on grounds that he was absconding bail. However, the court granted him another bail after the defendant challenged that he could not manage to appear before the police as he was sick and was admitted at Rumphi District Hospital. Meanwhile, Muhango's aunt, Monica Selemani, said the family is not moved by the police actions on the matter, saying all they want is justice to prevail. National Police Public Relations Officer James Kadadzera recently said the police will not shield any of its officers but prosecute those who break laws.
Concern Worldwide, in conjunction with the Department of Disaster Management Affairs, has started engaging communities in Nsanje with an aim of building their resilience to climate and natural disasters. The communities have since called for capacity building on how to manage and report disasters. Isaac Salima was there and has filed this report.
Communities from Kambaza in Fatima area are still in shock following floods that hit the area in 2019. The floods ravaged the area and people are still recovering from the trauma. It is for this reason that Concern Worldwide in Nsanje has been implementing a flood resilience project called Flood Response Alliance with an aim of avoiding the 2019 scenario. Speaking during the engagement with the Village Civil Protection Committee, Concern Worldwide in Nsanje District Programs Manager Tome Jimpazi said disaster preparedness activities are vital if the country is to fight disasters.
In fact, that is one of the key objectives of this project, whereby we are supposed to identify the capacity gaps, the knowledge gaps, even any other, like the gaps that we may come across with regards to flood resilience. So we are going to come up with a work plan and as well to find ways on how we can address those gaps in joint collaboration with the communities.
Group Village Head Kambaza said most of his subjects are clueless on what to do during disasters, hence the need for training on disaster management. Nsanje District Council Relief and Rehabilitation Officer Blessings Kantema held the organization for taking community engagement approach.
One way to ensure that we build community resilience is to implement community-driven interventions. For us to implement community-driven interventions, we need to engage them, the communities, to understand their gaps, for them to also come up with solutions. And then we will come in with technical backstopping to ensure that their resilience is actually built.
The project, which started in January this year, will run up to December 2023 and targets 15 group village heads in 7 traditional authorities in Nsanje District.
You're watching news at 8 on Times Television, TTV, and Times 360 Malawi Facebook page. We'll be back after this short break.
We all start differently, but we can all start with the strongest protection. Because some start early, others start late. Some from little homes, others from big ones. Some start together, or all on their own.
It doesn't matter how you start, as long as you start strong. With new Colgate Maximum Cavity Protection. Now with fluoride plus arginine for 4 times more strengthening power. So that you can give them the strongest start to their day. Colgate. Start strong, stay strong.
Mona Malawi anzanga. Nkhondo yogonjetsa COVID-19 ndiye wina aliyense. Tili limodzi. Ine ndinasankha kulandira katemera wa COVID-19 atangoyamba kuperekedwa. Chifukwa monga na mwino, moyo wanga, umoyo wa odwala amene ndimawasamalira, abale anga, ndi dera langa, ndi zinthu zomwe ndimazika pa mtima panga kwambiri. Katemera wa COVID-19 anditeteza ine ndi ena omwe analandira katemerayo ku chiopsezo choti tingadwale mwakayakaya, kugonekedwa mchipatala, kapena kutaya moyo wathu chifukwa cha COVID-19. Kulandira katemerayo kutithandiza kuthana ndi mliri wa COVID-19 limodzi.
Ziwani zambiri za katemerayo ndi kupanga chisankho cha nzeru. Sankhani katemera, tetezani tsogolo.
If there's one thing that all soaps do, it's wash. From buckets to basins, bathrooms to streams, and everything in between.
All soaps wash.
Yes, but Protex is different. Its reinvented formula with flaxseed oil boosts your skin's natural anti-germ defenses by 10 times more, protecting you against 99.9% of germs. So what keeps us healthy?
Protex!
Good health starts here.
Welcome back. You're watching News at 8 on Times Television, TTV, and Times 360 Malawi Facebook page. Civil society organizations have expressed concern over failure by the state to prosecute homicide cases related to witchcraft. But Director of Public Prosecutions, DPP, Steve Kayuni, says the state is still working on homicide files for prosecution. Wezi Gausi reports.
Over the past 2 years, Center for Human Rights and Rehabilitation, CHRR, and Center for the Development of People, CEDEP, have recorded over 60 cases of killings following witchcraft accusation. CHRR Executive Director Michael Kayasa says even though there have been some arrests, no one has been prosecuted for these crimes. Kayasa says there is no robust state-led response to such violations. But Director for Public Prosecution, Stephen Kayuni, says the witchcraft cases are in their homicide records. He says it is the intention of the state to prosecute homicide cases. One case yet to be prosecuted is that of Fidines Mulenga from Maulambia in Chitipa district, who was beaten to death on January 11, 2020 on suspicion that she had killed her own daughter through witchcraft.
Malawi Red Cross Society says investing in early childhood development is key to improving the quality of education in the country. Malawi Red Cross Society President Innocent Majia said this during the handover of Galatia Community-Based Care Center to communities in the area of Senior Chief Mtaje in Mwanza district. Majia said education standards can greatly improve if children are given a good foundation. Selina Tambula has filed this report.
Communities were elated as officials from Malawi Red Cross Society handed over Galatia CDCC to the communities. Senior Chief Ntaje said his subjects are very excited that the community now has a center where young children can access nursery school, saying over 200 children are going to benefit from the center. He called on his subjects to ensure that the center is well taken care of so that more children benefit. And Malawi Red Cross Society President Innocent Majia said the CBCC is one way the society is complementing government's efforts in promoting education.
As you know, Malawi Red Cross Society gives an auxiliary role to the government. We normally complement the government efforts. So the government is saying we need to have quality education. And how do we come up with this quality education? We are looking at the foundation of this particular education sort of a thing. There is need to have nurseries where everything has to start with. So we thought it wise as Malawi Red Cross Society that we should bring in an aspect of this sort of a foundation, a nursery school, whereby children should be equipped.
The center has been constructed from the Community Resilience Project, a consortium of various donor partners, to the tune of 40 million kwacha.
At least 33,000 people from Kuyu community in the area of Inkosi Chindi in MZIMBA district have improved their livelihoods through interventions by World Vision Malawi projects. World Vision has been in the area for 16 years and has since bid farewell. Feston Malekezo has compiled this report read by Sam Kalimira.
Statistics show that access to clean water has improved from 55% in 2006 to currently 98%, while cases of diarrhea have reduced from 30% in 2008 to 5% in 2019. Stunting rate for children under 5 years of age in the area has also gone down from 47.7% in 2006 to 36% in 2001. Speaking during their farewell event at Dindeni Community Day Secondary School in MZIMBA South, Minister of Homeland Security Richard Banda said government appreciates the role World Vision Malawi is doing in the country for delivering life-changing interventions that are improving the well-being of rural communities. Chimwendo Banda, who was accompanied by Deputy Minister of Local Government Halima Daudi, asked other non-government organizations to borrow a leaf from World Vision Malawi in developing rural areas.
First of all, is to thank them for the wonderful job that they have done. You can testify that from food security, quality of education, governance, water and sanitation, they have done massive work, and the empowerment of young children, women. This is what government wants.
World Vision Malawi National Director Francis Duwe said the organization, through its 2021-2025 strategy, is targeting to improve directly the well-being of 2 million children.
We have done quite a lot in this community, but it doesn't mean that all other communities are at the same level. So we need then to continue working with more communities and get more children in schools as part of developing the entire country.
World Vision Malawi has been implementing various projects ranging from health and nutrition, education, food security, water, sanitation and hygiene, among others.
Presidential Advisor on Church Affairs, Reverend Brian Kamwendo, has relayed government's appreciation for churches and para-church organizations bringing relevant solutions to challenges in Malawi. Kamwendo said this in Blantyre when Churches Action in Relief and Development, CAD, a humanitarian faith-based organization, conducted an annual meeting on Thursday. We have more in this Dwelling in Paso report, but read in our studios by Sarah Chirora.
The function highlighted the significance of the church and the para-church organizations as it relates to the interventions that the churches are doing in collaborating with government on socio-economic development. Kamwendo says the church's collaboration with the government in as far as socio-economic development is inevitable.
The main message that we've actually brought here is a message from His Excellency the State President, who is appreciating what the churches and also para-church organizations such as CARD are doing, especially in bringing relevant solutions to the context of Malawi, but also even in making the Bible more practical, other than just saying that we are going to heaven, but with a full realization that in as much as we're anticipating to go to heaven, we are still on the planet Earth. And our collaboration with government in socio-economic development is indeed inevitable.
Speaking on the sidelines of the AGM, CAD Executive Director Milton Lohanga said congregations provide physical infrastructure and complex social networks that can be leveraged for a wide range of socio-economic issues.
Let us help those that are in need and with the resources that we have. And as churches, or wherever you are, let's take part in the work that God has bestowed upon us.
CARD Board Chair Reverend Moenda Ganjera said the meeting highlights the successes of the organization.
We are so accountable to people who gave us the funds, but also to assure them that there's life for CARD despite COVID pandemic, which has hit us so much. So it's a meeting of reporting, but also even that our accounts have been audited and they are up to date.
CARD is a humanitarian church-based organization that provides emergency assistance in short term to communities affected by disasters.
And that item concludes the news, but before we go, the headlines again. Restrictions on public gatherings remain intact as the country remains at level 2 of the COVID pandemic. First Lady Monica Chakwera urges world leaders to harness their efforts to eliminate child marriage. And EU head of delegation to Malawi encourages dialogue in the debate on whether paralegals should be allowed to practice in subordinate courts. Remember, you can get more on these and other stories by visiting our website www.times.mw, liking our Facebook page Times 360 Malawi, subscribing to 1895 and following us on Twitter at Times 360 Malawi. Remember to wash your hands regularly, observe social and physical distance, mask up and get vaccinated to prevent COVID-19. Please stay safe. You've been with me, Wonder Msisia. Thanks for watching and continue watching the rest of the programs. Good evening.